have made a roux already. See, I know you because a lot of you are either from or currently living in or currently in the state of Louisiana. And I know with this cold weather, what every single one of you are doing right now, with the snowstorm coming ablaze, you probably have or will be making a roux. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be making gumbo, maybe some chili if you don't want the gumbo. But I got to tell you, the area that I'm in, I don't know where all of you are, but they're predicting 4 to 8 inches of snow. And I got to tell you, I don't like it. I do like snow, but 4 to 8 inches, that's a lot of inches. That's also what she said. I hope all of you are going to have a great Tuesday or great day tomorrow. Be safe out there. I doubt that we will be live tomorrow, depending on what is happening. In case that we can, we will be live. So go and follow us on socials. Stay up to date, and we'll let you know what we are doing. But just in case, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Big weekend for LSU. Yes, it was a massive weekend for LSU, especially at the quarterback position. A lot of irony came into display as Bryce Underwood watched Jaden Daniels absolutely carve up the Detroit Lions, which we're going to talk about that. Nick Saban reacts to the best player that he ever saw the last 5 years, not named Joe Burrow, was Jaden Daniels. We'll touch on that. Bob Diaco goes to North Carolina. We got a national title game. And, oh, by the way, Mark Zuckerberg's looking down Jeff Bezos' wife's or fiance's shirt. I mean, like, I get it. I mean, boys will be boys, I guess, in some light and some fashion. But my goodness, Zuck. Women's basketball continues their dominance as Kim Mulkey has never had a season where she has not won at least 20 games as they remain undefeated as they take down Florida on Sunday. And LSU men's basketball falls to 1-4. Not a really good look and start in conference for Matt McMahon and company. So we'll get to all that. We'll get to Ask Blake at the end of the show. We'll do that tonight just in case we are unable to get with you tomorrow. Kevin says, I'll be on my ambulance tomorrow. Well, stay safe, man. Stay safe. He says, let it snow. Yeah, I mean, stay safe, man. I mean, snow is not easy. I remember in 2017, my wife and I, she had to go into work, and we drove about an hour. It was brutal, man. It was absolutely brutal. It looks like it's coming again. This time we'll be at home. I do promise you that. Any news on tight ends coach Scooter the Shooter asked? We will definitely be talking about that when we talk about the Bob Diaco and shakeup segment. Mac says, I'll be making some chili. Of course you are, Mac. Look, man, here's the ultimate question that I ask all of you. Does beans belong in chili? Do beans belong in chili? Some people will say yes. Some people will say no. Well, do you put beans in your chili? It's a very big debate. I could see the argument for, I can see the argument against, but it's definitely a very big argument. Cody McGee says, ask Blake, Ben and Jewel ready for the snow day tomorrow. Ben's a little bit under the weather. Hopefully he starts feeling better. I'm sure Jewel will be ready to go. She will be ready to go. I'm sure both of them will be ready to go. So, yes, we'll be out there playing in the snow tomorrow. I very, very much believe so. Austin Johnson says no. Lance says hell yeah. Ray says no beans. Beans go in chili, bro. I mean, I'm just asking y'all. I could see the argument for. I can see the argument against. But I do know a lot of you have made some gumbo. Or your mamas or grandmamas have made some and sent some home with you. It's going to be cold out there, man. Stay safe. Keep your faucets running, as they say. I mean, do all the due diligence so you know what you need to do. But it was a massive weekend for LSU. Listen, I'd be remiss if I did not start off by talking about Jaden Daniels' fantastic performance yesterday. So Jaden Daniels, I'm sure a lot of you watched it, or yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever it was, as they took down the Detroit Lions. Listen, I think that as much as we knew that Jaden Daniels in 23 was special and could be generational, I don't think that people realized how good and great he could be post LSU. You know, I think that, and a lot of people say, Blake, you talk a lot about Jaden. Okay, well, I talk a lot about Joe Burrow too. I'm all over social media talking about Joe Burrow. It's interesting because if I would have told you a decade ago when Les Miles would ultimately be getting fired, Ed Orgeron would be coming in, that the reign of quarterbacks that you had, that LSU and then the next decade, actually wouldn't even take a decade, in the next 5 years, so half of a decade, LSU would have 2 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. One would get to a Super Bowl, another one, and he would win a national championship and a Heisman. The other one would be transformational to the sport in some ways, and it's a game away from the Super Bowl. And we go to one of the worst franchises in NFL history since the 1970s, and he would lead them 1 game away for the Super Bowl. You would have called me crazy. But fast forward a half a decade, and here comes LSU, and here is LSU with 2 quarterbacks that, quite frankly, you could probably put not even into the top 10, but some could make the argument of top 7 to top 8, if not top 5. But Jaden Daniels went into Detroit, the number 1 overall seed, and showed why he's generational. Now, the people who always say that, Blake, you talk about Jaden Daniels are the people that 3 years ago argued me about why Miles Brennan should have been the starter or Garrett Nussmeier, and Garrett could ultimately get there, and I think that he can. But if you're Garrett and if you're looking at this LSU team, I'm looking at Garrett and saying, hey, man, the blueprint of this has been laid out. You have a chance to go from Burrow to Daniels to Nussmeier. Again, if I would have told you a decade ago that LSU, who was running toss dive with guys like Brandon Harris, who got an extension at Texas, congratulations to him, but with guys like Brandon Harris, Danny Etling and company, that would be what you have at quarterback, you would have called me crazy. Nevertheless, you're here, and you did. Jaden Daniels is a game away from the Super Bowl, and I think it's even more crazy to see, man. I think he's even been better in some instances throwing the football even than he was a year ago. You know, in the pre-draft process a year ago around today, and I retweeted this when we posted this a year ago. I thought that Jaden Daniels was the best overall player going into the draft last year. I still think he's the best overall player in that draft class. I don't think any of those 7 quarterbacks that were taken around the same time frame that he was, I don't think any of them are better, even remotely close to being him. I think he's better than Caleb. I think he's better than Bo Nix. I think he's better than J.J. McCarthy and others. And by the way, in Jaden Daniels' fashion, he's taken a defense that's one of the worst in all of the NFL or all of sport and bringing him a game away from the Super Bowl. When is Jaden Daniels going to get a defense to make things in life easier for him? Always living up to the moment. The generational play that you are seeing from Jaden Daniels at the current moment is not a shock to anybody down the bayou. Now, some of you, it's a little bit of a shock because you weren't really on the bandwagon early. And even in 22, there were people that were out there that know probably a little bit more about football than you do that were telling you, this kid is going to break out. Just be patient. And then here you are, and here you stand. I also think it teaches a life lesson for a lot of you football fans that are out there, that just because one bad game happens and a first-time-year starter, myself included, you got to look at the totality of things. Now, are there things that you have to clean up? Yes. Does any of this sound familiar for Garrett going into year 2? I think that it does. I think that it really does. But Jaden Daniels, a game away from the Super Bowl. Nick Saban was asked today on the Pat McAfee show. He says, since I saw Joe Burrow 5 years ago in 2019 when those guys came to Tuscaloosa and beat us, as I'm quoting here, he says the best player that we faced, not remotely close, was Jaden Daniels. Now, I'm going to get to Nick Saban in just a moment before we get rolling here. Both of those Nick is talking about are LSU quarterbacks. And again, you see guys like Bryce Underwood that's out there, right? Like, I mean, he was on full display to see what a guy like Jaden Daniels can do. And he could do it a place here. I'm happy for him, man. But it's the first time in NFL history that a defense has been ranked outside of the top 15 in a rookie quarterback lead a team to a conference title game. The Washington Commanders are 28th in the NFL in total defense. Guys, they're Rudy Poo. And yet again, Jaden Daniels, who went through some of this same stuff a year ago at LSU, continues to prove why he is transformational. I do think that he is unguardable in a lot of situations because he can dot you up throwing the football, and he can run and has the ability to run away from you. I think he's better. I think he's ultimately going to be better than Lamar. The comp on him was that he was going to be Lamar Jackson. I got to tell you the truth. 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now, I think Jaden Daniels is going to be better than him because of what he can do in the pocket and what he can do with his legs. He's unguardable in some instances. I hope for Jaden that he's able to beat the Eagles. They beat the Eagles once. It's tough to beat a good opponent twice. But, man, they've already far exceeded expectations to what they were going to be. You know, the Commanders came into the season with a win total over-under at 6.5. Guys, they're a game away from the Super Bowl. And that is why a transformational quarterback, regardless of anything that you have around you, that's what it looks like. By the way, speaking of Nick Saban, before I get to a couple of these super chats and comments and things of that nature, Nick Saban was also on the Pat McAfee show and said today that he's calling for there to be change in college football, which I agree that there needs to be change in college football. But he stated it's not fair that other rosters are out there and can spend $30 million in NIL and $30 million to build their roster when some programs can only spend $3 million. We need more competitive balance. Nick Saban is not the spokesperson that needs to be saying that. By the way, I also think that it's wrong. Saban went on Capitol Hill 2 years ago and stated his case, and when he was asked when he was on the Hill what he should change, he never gave real, true guidance of what should happen. Everybody continues to go out there and say about college football that there needs to be change, and I agree that there needs to be change. How about this, now that we're going into year 5 of this, why don't you start putting out there on social media the things that you would start implementing now? And by the way, competitive balance is never going to happen. Ever. It didn't happen. It did not happen in Nick Saban's era, whether it was LSU, whether it was Alabama. It didn't happen then. And it sure as hell is not going to happen now. The Blue Bloods are going to remain the Blue Bloods when it comes to spending money because their fan bases, their donor bases, they have the most money and can go out there and spend the most. NIL doesn't get to go away, and it's not going to go away. So I see all of these big-time college football figures talking about there needs to be regulation and change. And I come out here and say, you keep talking about competitive balance. What competitive balance? There's never been competitive balance. Guys, it's not even a shot. Either tonight, Ohio State, which we're going to talk about, or Notre Dame is going to win a national title. That has nothing to do with competitive balance. Ohio State won the national championship when the playoff was expanded the first time around. They're probably about to do it again. And Notre Dame has been in the playoffs how many times under Brian Kelly? Got to a national title under Brian Kelly, and they're back there with Marcus Freeman. There isn't going to be competitive balance. NIU, who beat Notre Dame, is not getting to a national title whether you like it or not. Neither is Boise State. Quite frankly, neither is Arizona State or SMU. They're not. I call for competitive balance. What competitive balance? I feel like what was the movie? I'm trying to think of it. I want to say Jack Hoffman, but it's not Jack Hoffman. You know the movie where they're like, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. I keep hearing people yell at me about competitive balance. What competitive balance? There isn't going to be competitive balance. There was never going to be competitive balance. So I understand what Saban is trying to say here. Really, I do. I also think it's foolish, dumb, and stupid. All right. Alexander Taylor with a $5 super chat says, I hate how the quote-unquote SEC was cheating all those years and was paying under the table, and there's documentaries about USC, Maurice Claret, Michigan, and Miami. Everybody's cheating. So it goes to my point. It's not – Shane Gillis can go out there on the Pat McAfee show, which he did again today, and said that the South is just go listen to it. He said the South is full of a bunch of R words, and it's not – I'm not talking about special needs R words, okay? First off, Shane Gillis, shut the fuck up. You literally have no idea what you're talking about. You go out there telling Saban that you were cheating, and your team, your institution, Notre Dame was the one that got popped with recruiting violations. So you might want to shut the fuck up. The SEC doesn't get to a national title for back-to-back years, and the world is like, oh, the SEC sucks. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. I'm not going to – you missed the wrong one. You missed the wrong one. Tom said he's a comedian. Being a comedian doesn't excuse you from calling a whole group of people something that isn't realistic. He goes out there and says, oh, all of them are racists. Okay, because your team's in the national title? Then don't do a show in the South. I mean, why would you say something so stupid? Because you're a Notre Dame fan, and the only reason that you got your girl is because you got money. I'm not going to back off of Shane Gillis. I ain't scared of that. You think I'm scared of backing off because you think that you like the dude? It's stupid. Just because you like his comedy doesn't mean that you can't point out stupidity and idiotic tendencies. All right. A Few Good Men was the show. Or the movie. You are correct. You are correct. Don't do a show in the South. That's all I'm saying. If that's how you feel about us, then don't do a show here. This coming from a guy who literally made it seem that he had a mental handicap so that he could stand on the sidelines of an NFL game. Yeah, that's really who I want to be listening to. All right. No, I'm not backing off of Notre Dame. Better pray to God they win tonight because I'm unloading the clip. If you have not followed us on Twitter, you need to be following us on Twitter tonight. God forbid they lose. I'm unloading the clip. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, we got a lot of LSU stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about Bob Diaco and staff changes. We'll talk a little national title, then ask Blake at the end. But I got to talk about our good friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Guys, you need to get over to Underdog Fantasy today. Guys, it is one of the best fantasy websites that you can go to. You can use the promo code AYS to get a potential, I'm butchering this, but potentially get up to $1,000 in free money play on Underdog Fantasy. One of the world's leading fantasy apps and websites, Underdog Fantasy is here to satisfy your fantasy needs. That's underdogfantasy.com. Underdogfantasy.com. Use that promo code AYS to get some free bonus play. Let me get to a quick break. During the break, all of you are going to be hitting the like and sharing all those groups and social media pages. All of you are going to be subscribing on YouTube and hitting that notification bell. And if you're listening to us on podcast, you're going to hit that 5-star button. Let me get to this break. When we come back, we talk some LSU next. Stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
All right. We did get a super chat during the break here from Dr. John Sibley Butler. Thank you so much, Doc. I greatly appreciate you sending that in. But a $20 super chat says a player transfer without going through the portal yesterday. Is this a new trend? So we talked about this yesterday on Ruffino and Joe show. So I'm going to break it down. I'm not going to spend too long on it. I'm assuming that Dr. Butler is talking about Xavier Lucas, the safety of Wisconsin, who transferred from Wisconsin to Miami. Dr. Butler, stop me if I'm wrong here. If this isn't the one that you're talking about. Here's the thing about Xavier Lucas. He filed paperwork stating in Wisconsin that he's entering the transfer portal and that he had his father was ill and that he wants to go in the portal and go back home. Xavier Lucas and his agent told Miami that they had entered the paperwork to go into the portal and he wanted to go to Miami, but Wisconsin was not allowing for him to go into the portal. They held his paperwork. By the NCAA standards that the NCAA came out, you cannot do that. They cannot prohibit a player from unenrolling at a school and going to another school, aka the transfer portal. They cannot prohibit that. If a player wants to go in the portal, they cannot stop it. There are some conference things that you cannot do, meaning a player in the SEC in spring window cannot enter the portal and go to another SEC team. Cannot happen. Those are conference issues, not NCAA issues. Here's the thing about Xavier Lucas that makes things interesting. Xavier Lucas signed a TV revenue share that had not come to fruition yet, meaning he was going to start getting paid in April, and that is when his TV revenue share and NIL deal was going to come to light here. He never got paid for the process. He knew the money that he was going to make at Wisconsin, and he said, I know I'm going to make a crap load of money with TV revenue money. With the Big Ten, it's smaller in the ACC. I need to go home. I'm out of here. I've seen a lot of people here talk about money. I don't think the kid wants any money. That contract is now null and void. The kid did not want to be there. Why Wisconsin is holding this up, I do not know. So, Dr. Butler, look, you can't hold the kid's paperwork. And you need to put in your paperwork or your contract that if you leave and you do not play here and you go and play for another team, this contract is null and void. It would end that very quickly. It would end it very quickly. In reference to Xavier Lucas, I think that this is over. I think the kid's going to go and play for Miami, and there's not a damn thing that anybody can do about it. He was set to make more money clearly at Wisconsin over at Miami, and it didn't matter. And that's why they paid him to keep him at Wisconsin, and they paid him the amount of money that they were going to pay him as well. I look, the kid needed to go home. Let him go home. I mean, it is what it is. This is a part of what Saban talked about, and I get it. You got to come up with a collective bargaining agreement. Until you come up with everybody being in a collective bargaining agreement, none of this is going to change. It's going to remain the same. Okay. Who's ready to get to some LSU stuff? Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want. Who's ready to get to some LSU stuff? Let us know in the chat because we're about to. Bob Diaco, the analyst at LSU, is going to North Carolina on an on-field role as the new linebackers coach. I do think a couple of people were taken back by this. On Friday, I was kind of started hearing some rumblings that Bob was going to be heading to North Carolina. They did not know if it was going to be an on-field role or off-field role. But listen, Bob Diaco, I do think, had a big and was a very big factor for Brian Kelly over the last couple of years and things that they did. Bob Diaco was a big part of special teams. He pretty much ran it anytime that you went out to practice. He was a really big defensive analyst. The players loved him. But Bill Belichick does not hire Bob Diaco for an on-field role if Brian Kelly does not give the green light and go ahead and says that you need to hire this guy. Doesn't happen. Brian Kelly and Bill Belichick are very close. We have seen over the years that Belichick, who does not make public appearances very often, has come and seen Brian Kelly in multiple situations. He was here for a game this year. He's been at every pro day, which he does not do that. And I think that Bill and Brian's relationship, Bill needing a linebackers coach, LSU had their chance to go and fill that role or use Bob Diaco to fill a role when the whole defensive staff was overturned a year ago. Bob Diaco leaves. He's going to North Carolina. Here's a couple of things. Listen, I know that these aren't the sexiest things that you want to talk about, but I think it's one of the more crucial things that we can talk about. LSU on the offense and defensive side of things has got to replace their analyst roles quickly, efficiently, and with guys who know what they're doing. I don't think that it is not passed upon me that you have now two analysts who are former coordinators and or head coaches that have gone other places and have become coordinators or gotten on-field roles. Paul Turner has now left. You've had others that have left and gone other places. Brian Kelly's had some shakeups in the recruiting department, and some different things have changed along and will continue to change along in there from what I hear. I think that Brian Kelly's role right now, regardless, and I do think that some of these things are going to be announced relatively within the week. I do think that Brian Kelly has a very interesting decision to make here. I think that these analysts and these guys that are off-field roles, quote unquote, are bigger now than they have ever been. These off-field analysts are non-true position coaches, now can be at practice coaching players throughout the practice. Any coaching staff that you will talk to around the country will tell you that the analysts that are around them are a big thing, are a big factor in the success of what they have. We've heard Steve Sarkisian talk about it. We've heard Lane Kiffin talk about it. We've heard Jim Harbaugh talk about it. Clearly, we've heard him talk about it. We've heard Urban Meyer, Ryan Day, Brian Kelly, all of the Kirby Smart, all of these elite college football coaches have all said one thing about the new direction of this analyst role. Of number one, how big of a factor it is that you have more eyes and more people that can coach, teach, break down film, and have a plethora of things that they can do to help your coaching staff. I do think it's going to be interesting to see where Blake Baker goes and some other analyst roles that he may or may not want to fill. I don't know what he's going to do, but it certainly is going to be interesting to see what LSU does on the offensive side of things. I do think that there are some ex-coordinators that are out there that LSU has talked to that could potentially come here. But it's basically I think that Nick Saban was a little ahead of his time in doing this, but now it's even more of a magnified scale of being able to go out and get analysts who can really help your program and team. You know, we saw that even happen at Georgia this year when you bring over T-Rob and Will Muschamp and Kirby Smart being as close as they are. Muschamp takes a step back and is an analyst, and really nothing changes of what the success and everything that Will Muschamp is doing. It's never been a bigger deal for college athletics and college coaching to have one of these analyst roles and fill them with the right people than it is right now. If I'm Blake Baker, I'm going after other coordinators that have the same philosophies that I do. If I'm Brian Kelly, I am the only person making these hires and decisions when it comes to the offensive side of the football. Let's go with defense first, and then I'll get to offense. Defensively, I think that Blake Baker is good enough, smart enough to know the guys that he has been around to bring in different analyst roles. I do think that that's why it's been a shakeup in certain areas of what LSU has done in the recruiting staff. I do think that the fat is being trimmed around LSU football. I do expect more public things to come out. I expect these non-traditional positions to not be refilled. I really don't think that they will be. Excuse me. I think that LSU has a interesting chance to do something that Saban started but didn't have. Nick did not stay long enough to see this implemented. I would let Blake go and get whoever he wants. I know that sounds a little risky for some, but he took a defense that was statistically in the hundreds and got them from a total defensive perspective into the mid-50s. Even though LSU was not great defensively, they took a massive step forward statistically. I do think that there are some people out there that Blake will want to go and get. Bob Diaco out. Who does Blake Baker, if at all, or Brian Kelly, if at all, fill that role with? I know that's not a lot to go off of. I know that's a small little talking point. I don't really think that Blake really even has to fill that role, but other than potentially getting guys in there that can help him. I think that there's a chance that you can get maybe an ex-guy that was at linebackers coach that can let Blake roam around and help more defensively. I don't think Bob Diaco was Blake Baker's guy, and I think that there was I think that there were some issues there. What I do think is that when you go in full in on a staff and full in on a coordinator, you can't limit them on what they need to do. You got to let them ride. That's why I'm letting Blake do it. Offensively, I'm doing the complete opposite. So everything you just heard me say defensively, scratch it for the offense. Here's why. You went all in on Blake Baker as your DC 2 years ago. And now you're going into a year ago. Now you're going into year two with Blake Baker, and you already have seen where in a lot of places that this defense has gotten better. I think you got to continue to allow the guy that you went all in on to continue to mold, build, and do what he wants to do. You got to let him continue to do that. Offensively, you did not go all in on your coaching staff from a coordinator perspective offensively. It even got so bad in moments, per Brian Kelly, regardless if he said it on the podium or not, that his actions led to that he had to bring out and bust out a play sheet and start going through and helping with play calling. Tendencies is what he called it. Helping with tendencies. Basically, which translates to he's helping in the running game. first and foremost, regardless of who LSU hires at tight ends coach, the number one thing that they got to do is go and get a guy that understands the run game better than anybody on that staff outside of Brian Kelly. It's the number one move that I'm making. Even if you want to have a run game coordinator that is calling plays in the running game, that's fine with me. I really don't care. We've already seen that have to happen. And it started with Florida literally 7-8 weeks ago. It needs to continue. I'll come back to tight ends coach in a minute. I think that LSU has been moving around and shaking around some guys that they want to bring in for analyst roles now that they have some that have left. What I do think is interesting is offensively, you have a lot of coordinators that are out there that are somewhat household names if you follow college football that you can bring in. You need all the help you can get. That's not a shot at Cortez Hankton. It's not a shot at Joe Sloan. It's not a shot at Brian Kelly. But at the day that Brian Kelly walked out onto that field in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium with a play call sheet, you're basically telling me that you think that you need some help. There are guys out there. Now, I know that what's going to happen in the comments when we clip this, I know what you're probably asking me in the chat right now, and basically asking, who is that? I don't know. I do not know. I don't know the direction of where Brian Kelly wants to go. So I'm not going to sit here and bore you with my opinion of off-field analyst roles where I don't know where he wants to go, specifically when it comes to names. What I would say is I think you need to bring run game guys in here. The guys that you have now that are analysts, along with your OC, the guy that calls plays, he does not need help in the passing game. Quite frankly, I'm just going to be frank with you. Joe does not need help in the passing game. There's a lot of stuff you missed. I think if you clean some of that up, you're good to go. That being said, the run game is where you massively missed. You can't be 104th in the country this upcoming season and think that you're going to get where you want to go. I'm going to talk about it all offseason. You're going to hate me about it, and you're going to hate me for it. But as God is my witness, if you do not get better than 104th in the running game offensively, if you don't bring in some analysts, if you don't bring in a tight ends coach who has experience in the run game, nothing is going to change. I don't care how great Garrett Nussmeier is. He could be the best college football quarterback of all time. If he does not have a decent running game, it's not going to change anything. It will lead to the same amount of turnovers that he had a year ago. So I don't know the direction of the actual person or persons that they want to go and get. But there's no other real decision that you need to have here. None. You know, I tweeted this yesterday, and I want you to stay with me. I tweeted this yesterday. The Baltimore Ravens were down to the Buffalo Bills yesterday. And when they were down, what did Todd Monken, the offensive play caller, do? He lined up with Hill, he lined up with Derrick Henry, and he lined up with Lamar Jackson and their fullback Ricard, and he ran the ball 7 out of 8 plays and physically dominated all the way down the field. It's not like Todd Monken doesn't have a history of doing that over and over and over again when his team is down and being able to dominate in the running game and you doing what you need to do to get back into a football game. Ultimately, it tied the game for them because the one pass that they threw from Lamar was in the red zone that led to a touchdown. And the 2-point conversion, which was a beautiful play call, was not executed. Mike Denbrock had pretty much the same play call against Alabama a couple of years ago. You remember it. Guys, I love a great running game. And I will continue to beat this down until everybody just stops listening and nobody wants to hear about it anymore. You will win every game that you play when you line up and you physically dominate teams running the football. I don't care how explosive you are in the passing game. When you can line up and run the ball for 6, 7, 8 yards to carry, you will dominate human beings. you will dominate. I understand the Buffalo Bills won, but you know what they did? You know what Joe Brady did when the game was on the line? He ran the ball. For LSU being 104th. Oh, last thing. Todd Monken brought in 3 people, and I went and looked this up today. When he went from Georgia to Baltimore, he brought in 3 people. They all specialize in one specific area. He brought in an offensive line coach. He brought in a run game coordinator. And he brought in a tight ends coach who was a blocker his entire career in the NFL. The former wide receiver and quarterbacks coach brought in a running game with him. He brought coaches that knew a shitload about the running game. You got to do that here. The only way that you get around it, and you could get around it, is if Brian Kelly does it. Or your tight ends coach does it. Or Joe Sloan gets better at doing it, and he does it. But as God is my witness, if you do not start lining up and running that football, we're going to be here a year from now, January the 20th, 2026, saying, well, what went wrong? Blake, what went wrong with this LSU team in 2025? And I'm going to be like, guys, nothing changed. Even though they got a little bit better in the running game, they were still in the mid-80s. Nothing really changed. They went from 104 to the mid-80s. That's not good enough. Why were some of these SEC teams that have historically been dominant not playing tonight for a national title? Why are they not there? Georgia couldn't run the football all year long. Texas could not run the football outside of playing Clemson all year long. Alabama could not run the football except on you all year long. The reason they're not back there is because they can't run the ball. I know it sounds simplistic. I know that it sounds very nuanced and old school. But the team, one of the teams, actually both of the teams that are in the national title game tonight have a running back duo that everybody in the country would take. Everybody. You better run that rock. So when you ask me my opinion, I'm not coming out here giving you facts about or sourcing about where I think LSU goes here. I'm not. What I am doing is when most of you ask me where I'm going, who would you hire as a tight ends coach? Someone that can call plays running the football, or someone who has a vast knowledge of the running game and will take over it right now, because I don't think you're good enough. Now, I said this last week, and I'm going to warn you again because I've had a whole weekend to think about it. Some of you are going to come in here and say, well, Blake, you've been too negative. Being 104th in the running game is not being negative. It's realistic. And if you're not realistically understanding that for yourself, that you're not going to win shit until you get that better, it's not on me. My job on this show is to present the facts for you. And here's a fact that you better get through your head for anybody saying, Blake, you're being too negative. You are 8-4 in the regular season. 8-4. The biggest thing, the biggest issues that you had, both revolved around the running game, offensively and defensively. So you can get happy, mad, sad, glad, and it could be a whole Dr. Seuss book. But the bottom line remains, I'm going a guy like Alex Atkins. I'm throwing a name out there. I think if you did hire a guy like Alex Atkins, it'd be a home run. I think it's a massive miss if you go get a guy who's a passing game guy. What are you doing? At that position, what are you doing? It makes zero sense because your co-coordinators are a wide receivers coach and a quarterback that came from an air raid system. What are you doing? You got to find balance. The only other way that you get around this, the only way you get around from not hiring a running game guy is if Brian Kelly ultimately says that he's going to do it. You got to line up and run that rock, baby. I will make this known now. If LSU is in the mid-40s running the football, you're going to a playoff. You're going to a playoff. And that's our goal. That's my goal. My goal is to see this. My goal going into 2025 is to see LSU go to the playoff. You can't be 104th in the running game. Guys, you can't be soft. And I'm not calling this team or this coaching staff soft. I'm just saying that your philosophy of how you attack teams cannot be soft. Throwing the ball around 42 times a game, which you average 42 dropbacks a game, is not going to win you shit. It will not happen. You're going to see two teams tonight that's going to line up and run that rock. And they're going to go full Mortal Kombat up front. Get over here. They're going to light your ass up. And as much as you think that that's not realistic, it 1,000% is realistic. All right. So Bob Diaco heading to North Carolina, good for him. If LSU was going to make a move, they were going to make it 2 years ago when Blake Baker came in. They weren't going to, I mean, the only other thing you could have done was promote Bob Diaco to linebackers coach, move Blake Baker to safeties, and then demote Jake Olson to an analyst. They did not do that, and Bob Diaco moves on. Bill Belichick does not make that hire without Brian Kelly. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So good for Bob Diaco. A lot of players really like Bob. A lot of them. If you don't believe me, you can just go look at Twitter and see the reaction when he got hired at North Carolina and some of them of what they said. Players will tell you without telling you what they believe. Oh, shit. They will tell you what they think of a guy. Ben Johnson to the Bears. By the way, before I get to a couple of these comments, I think Jaden Daniels was telling the Saints fans not to hire Aaron Glenn. I know people are going to, Saints fans are going to say, which they did say, well, last time Dan Quinn was a coordinator with the Cowboys, he gave up 45 points or whatever it was to the Packers. It's a different beast, man. It's a different beast. All right, a couple comments before we get to a break here. Marvelous says FSU coach that recommended Thomas to come here, that's the hire. So you're talking about Solomon Thomas, the offensive guard, who, by the way, here's the truth. You know that I do not like getting high. Pause. But I don't like coming on this show and being very high on freshmen. I've talked to multiple sources on this. Every single one of them tell me both that they think Carius Kern and Solomon Thomas are going to push for playing time if they don't play or start. Workouts have already begun, and everybody has told me that Carius Kern is ridiculous in the weight room. Like, absolutely ridiculous. Like, he's lifting at a ridiculous pace. We'll see, man. That makes me feel good. Two guys that, listen, to run the football too, you got to be really good in the interior. And I got to be real with you. I want to go back to the days where we can line up and F somebody up in the running game. We've got a little too soft. That ain't an opinion. It's really not an opinion. And your running backs got to take a massive step forward this offseason. Caleb Jackson, Caden Durham. What do you what and how, where, when, how? All those questions about Harlem Berry. How do you do that? Well, how do you utilize them? What ultimately happens with Trey Holly? I'm going to say this too. I have no real dog in the fight, and you could say, well, Blake, you do. You're an LSU fan. The court system needs to shit or get off the pot when it comes to Trey Holly. I'm just being honest. The reason you keep pushing it back is that you think that you don't have enough. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. You drop a murder charge, but not a gun charge because you didn't have enough. Stupid. Paul Sharp says Les Miles run game coordinator. Oh, good Lord. Here's one thing I'll give Les. He would go 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and you got it, and you had to stop it. Last year just showed how our O-line couldn't run block and how much JD5 covered it up. All right, I'm going to show you this because this is kind of a – let me show you this. Abram. All right. It's going to make my camera go wacky. This is a run by Josh Williams. And you can see Josh Williams in the middle of your screen there. Okay? That's fantastic. You see Kamarian Pimpton right here by my pinky? Kamarian Pimpton misses a block, and Josh Williams is stopped for a gain of 7. South Carolina. South Carolina. I could do this all day. South Carolina. Okay? Caleb Jackson runs right into the linebacker, and you see Emory Jones right here where my middle finger is. He's got to run off of Emory Jones's ass cheek. He hits the hole wrong. I could literally do this all day. I could do this all day. I don't think that they were as bad as 104. It's tougher to pass block against really athletic dudes than it is to run block. I got to be real with you. I can show you thousands of all 22 copies, maybe not thousands, hundreds of all 22 copies where your running back is massively missing the wrong hole. I dare anybody to. I could do this all day. I could do an hour-long show. I could do an hour-long show were they perfect? Frick no, they weren't. Were they good enough? Yeah, they were good enough. Your running backs missed too much. I don't give two Rudy Poos when anybody tells you. All right. I bet you somebody's going to say you should do a show. Maybe I should. I mean, literally, guys, that literally was I popped that up on my phone like that. I promise you, I could do it all day long. I see what I see. First off, I think your running backs are lined up on the wrong side on most of these handoffs. You're literally running a counter play, and he's lined up on the right side of the quarterback. Why in the hell? What are we doing? And I'm going to tell you, I talked to an SEC coach last week. I reported this on Rufino and Joe show, and I'm trying to get out of the reporting game. And the SEC coach tell me that they literally would tell their DNs and outside backers to literally crash down on every single running play when they played LSU. They had no fear that Garrett Nussmeier would pull it and run and get 5. No fear. Zero fear. You are too predictable. All right. Let me get to a quick break. We'll come right back. We'll wrap it up. Talk national title. We'll do hashtag Ask Blake. If you have thoughts, questions, concerns, put them inside the chat. We'll talk a little national title as well. Stay with us.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Foss and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Foss has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
We're back. I see your comments. Eric says, I'll watch it personally. Maybe me and Carter can do something. We're probably not going to do it on this channel. We can't do it on this channel, but we'll figure something out. There are way too many running plays that I thought that the running back could have gotten 4, 5, 6 yards that they're tiptoeing to the line of scrimmage. They're not hitting the hole quick enough. They're not making decisions quick enough. That's just me, but what do I know? When summer comes around and news is slow, film breakdown with Blake. Maybe we can do that. Maybe we'll figure something out. Don Wheat, 33, says, I ain't pulling for Ohio State to beat the brakes off of Notre Dame. I'll continue to say this, man. I don't think anybody is a bigger Ohio State fan tonight than Brian Kelly. I know that he said he wants Ohio for Notre Dame to win. I don't believe that. I never will believe that. You can't convince me that that's realistically true. What I do believe is that Ohio State's going to win. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout. I actually don't think it's going to be a blowout. I'm just going with the more talented team. I agree with you that Ohio State's going to win. I don't think they're going to blow them out. Do they have the ability to? Yes. Notre Dame can't make this one interesting, though. They can make it interesting, which is going to be fun to watch. Christian Burris says Missouri is an Omaha trip away from passing us. Missouri is an Omaha trip away from passing us. Christian, what do you mean? What am I missing? Missouri is an Omaha trip away from passing us. Can you clarify what you mean? Thank you for the super chat. What do you mean by that? I am clearly missing something here. Clearly I'm missing something. Alexander says, Blake, are we still going after a portal safety, or do we have to wait until the spring? I think that you're going to, guys, I really think that we're going to be waiting until the spring, until you go and get probably more guys in the portal. I do not think that you're done. I do not think that I do think that you're going to be doing things in the spring window, in the portal. I don't know where. I know people are telling me that they're not going after a DT. I call bullshit. I still think that you need a safety too. And depending on what happens with Caleb Jackson, I think you could go after a running back. So, yeah, I don't think you're done in the portal, but I do think you could be done in the portal now. Right now, I do think that you could be done in the portal. In reference to the national title game, look, to wrap it up here, I do think Ohio State, like I said, I do think Ohio State's going to win. I do think that I don't think Notre Dame's there yet. I do think they're a talented team. I don't think they're there yet. So we'll see. Christian Burr says, as an athletic department, they have a second-year coach in basketball killing it, and they have been better in football. Something needs to change. I don't think they've been better than you in football. I think their schedule has been easier than yours in football. That's difficult to say from an athletic department, Christian, because you have 5 national titles in 5 years. 5 total national titles. You have a national title in women's basketball, football, baseball, gymnastics. So 4 of the last 5, and track and field. So that 5, you're 5 for 5. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I get what you're saying. I'm not there yet. All right. We'll see y'all tonight on Ruffino and Joe Show. We're doing a post game there. Go to Ruffino and Joe Show and you can subscribe. So we'll see you tonight after the game. Until then, y'all have a good one. Peace.